Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Early Social Development Lab YouTube channel. My name's Elizabeth, and I'm here again with Alexis today, and we are going to continue the discussion on early social and communication milestones within the first year of life. Last time, we gave you some information about what to look for and what to do with your infant within the first 6 months of life. We left you with a tidbit and 3 things to do with your infant to encourage those early social and communication milestones. If you can remember what they are and if you practice them, drop a comment below and let us know what that was like for you. Can you remember those 3 tidbits just right off the bat that we discussed last week?
I think so. So I'm pretty sure our ESCI lab tidbit was to copy your baby's sounds and go back and forth. So they make a sound, you imitate, they make a sound, you imitate. To talk to your baby about what you're doing various times throughout the day and continue introducing them to new words. And to introduce your baby to new and stimulating environments.
Yeah, great. All right, well, let us know how that worked for you. Today, we are going to look at those early social developmental milestones within the 6 to 12 months of life. So again, we are going to talk to you about that and let you know some things to look out for and some things that you can do for your infant to encourage those early skills. So Alexis, what do you have for us today?
Absolutely. So I'm going to start at 9 months. And at this age, your baby receptively, so that's like what language your baby understands, should be responding to their name and also responding to the word no, which I think is a really important milestone for our parents because they love it when their babies start to listen to the word no. It's really important, I think, just to mention with that milestone that understanding the word no is different from following instructions about no. So we see a lot of babies that come into our lab and we tell them no and they just look up at us and smile. So that indicates they know what it means, but they don't necessarily want to stop what they're doing. So they're not necessarily going to listen to that instruction. Mm-hmm. And then expressively at 9 months, your baby should be starting to babble, which is really fun. So they should be starting to string more and more sounds together. So you'll hear that ma, 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 where they just want to talk and it's like a continuous flow of words. And then at this age, you'll start to see what might look like a point. Generally, it's like open-handed, but they're definitely indicating something. So like it might be open hand or it might be like a little bit more open-handed than you would expect it to be. So it's not necessarily going to be that robust, like look at that over there, but they're going to start indicating to objects across the room.
Okay. So by 9 months, they are going to start understanding what the word no means without actually following it necessarily. They're going to start using longer strains of sounds like ba, 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 ba. And then they're going to start pointing in some kind of way, typically.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there are a couple tips I have for parents about what you can do with your 9-month-old. So something really important that kind of starts at this age is playing those turn-taking games. So when you're doing peekaboo, previously, like 6 months and under, you were just doing peekaboo and your baby was watching. But at 9 months, you can start kind of getting them involved. So you do it, and then you're like, oh, it's your turn. You try. And then you show them how to put their hands in front of their eyes and take them away and play peekaboo. And it kind of introduces that game and turn-taking structure to them. And then one other thing similar to all throughout life and what I said in our last video is continue talking to your baby and showing them various things. So maybe there's like a ball around and you know that's what your baby's playing with. Just making sure you provide names for those things and labels and saying, oh, you're holding the ball. Is it red and it's big and it rolls? And kind of introducing all those different concepts to your 9-month-old.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, what about the 12-month mark? What should we expect at the 12-month mark?
Absolutely. So this is where your baby's going to start talking, which is really fun. We start to hear these functional use of words. So instead of these long strings where your baby is going mama, 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 we might hear mama when mom walks into the room. So that's always really fun that when our parents come in and they're like, oh my gosh, my baby said mama today. And that is just like really rewarding for parents and dad too. Both of those are pretty easy, single, simple words. So the kind of like the 2 S's, you should be watching out for single, simple words.
Single, simple words.
Yes.
At 12 months.
Mm-hmm. And they'll start to imitate words that you say. So you can bring your hand to your mouth and kind of bring attention to what your mouth is doing when you say words and really enunciate. So if you're talking to your baby and you're like, do you see the ball? Because them watching your mouth and watching the shapes your mouth is making while you're saying the words will help them to make that shape too and to imitate those words. And then at this age, we also see use of gestures really pick up. So your baby should be waving bye-bye. Your baby should be pointing more robustly. So instead of that open hand point, you should see more of a point that you recognize. And your baby should be indicating to things across the room and trying to show you things.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so at 12 months then, or at 12 months, what are some things that parents need to be mindful of? You know, we talked last week about how infants, of course, develop differently, and there's no set, range for all kids. They, of course, develop differently and at different speeds. But what are some of those key signs that parents need to look out for, or key things that they need to potentially explore more if their infant isn't reaching a particular milestone?
Absolutely. So I think at 12 months, you should be watching out for your baby to make a variety of different sounds and kind of starting those single, simple words. And if they're not starting those words and you don't hear like a variety of sounds, a variety of different consonants, that's when you might start to be concerned. And then the other thing I really want parents to watch out for is that point at 12 months. And if your baby isn't pointing by 12 months, that's something that you can bring up with your pediatrician as well, or talk to us about if you're in our study.
That's a great point. So with our study, if you have any concerns or if you're not sure what to expect with your infant, we are here to help you and talk you through that and give you some feedback and some next steps. You don't have to go at this alone. We're here to help support you, and we'll certainly let you know of any things that you might want to be mindful of or pursue additional services for.
Absolutely. And again, last time we referenced some free resources online that parents can look up. So for parents who aren't in our study currently, or even parents who are in our study but are between study visits and you don't necessarily want to reach out to us at this point, you can go back to that video. I believe it was in the comments or the kind of description of the video, and there were two links, one to the First Words Project at FSU, and they do early social communication research, and they have some checklists. And then we also link to the CDC milestone charts. So I brought those today to kind of show you guys what they look like. But there's one for almost all ages. So like this is the 9-month milestone one. And so it starts over here and says what most babies do at this age. And then there's a checklist of things. You can kind of check off what your baby's doing. But then also over here, it mentions that you know your child best. And it kind of says a checklist of things that are happening that might be concerning. So if you are concerned about your child, you can go online, print these out, kind of try and fill out these checklists. If most of your check marks are over here in this box, that might be something to bring into your pediatrician. And I think that this form is a great way to kind of start that conversation. So if you're not sure how to go about that and you want to come into your pediatrician, you can bring this checklist and say, hey, look, these are the things I've noticed my child doing at home over here. And these are the things I noticed they're not doing. And I noticed there's a lot of check marks here. What do you think about that? And it's a really good way to kind of facilitate that discussion.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys caught all that. Stay tuned for more. Next time, we are going to talk about how these early milestones translate into our research. We're going to talk a little bit more about what we're seeing here in our lab and give you some sneak peeks into some of the latest development that we're seeing. Any last final words for our audience before we head out?
I think just keeping in mind, continue to talk to your baby. There's research that shows that the more words babies hear at these early ages, the better their language skills later on. So just continue to talk to your baby about what you're doing throughout the day. And that's my ESDI lab tidbit for today, is just talk to your baby as much as possible.
That's great. All right, guys, until next time, see you later.